Hello there, everyone. We're going to be doing a small roundup slash podcasty thing of the World Championship, and joined with me is a Bohdan and Ryan, who both played together and tested together and created their decks, etc., etc. So, hello and welcome, boys.
Hello.
Hey.
Let's just begin straight from the beginning, I suppose. Now, you guys are in very different positions because Ryan entered Worlds through the long and arduous Worlds race points, and Bohdan, of course...
Did you say arduous, like the card?
I think the word's arduous. Yes, arduous.
Yeah.
You
Just referred to the link, the fucking rank 5 exceeds. But go on.
Yeah, he's a good card. Yeah, you can make it with double Garbage Lord for 4,000 life points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't use your normal summon. Anyway, so Ryan, you went through the Worlds race, and Bohdan, you just kind of sacked your way to the end of a tournament.
Yeah. So just for reference, so since like, I'm trying to Ryan, you talk first, and then I'll work out the numbers of how many games I've actually just lost this year, because it's
oh my god.
I think Ryan should go second because Ryan has like a whole season to discuss, whereas you, I suppose, probably have a little bit
I
less.
just said no one cares.
I can sum up what Bohdan's gonna say like way faster. So Bohdan topped YCS Secaucus in New Jersey, then topped his nationals, then got second at his WCQ, and in Australia, nationals and WCQ are in sequential days. Nationals are Saturday, Sunday. WCQ is Monday. So what Bohdan's trying to say is he was like 20 and like 3 in matches in like a month of Yu-Gi-Oh, or like 2 weeks of Yu-Gi-Oh or something. That's what he wants to say. He won a lot, and that is true. He won a lot.
I had so many draws. It was great. I love it.
Oh, you had so many draws? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, Bohdan, so you have had a good season, like despite Worlds and stuff, really. But you
you say despite? Oh, okay, no, I think
despite getting second.
Go on.
Well, no, I mean like ignoring Worlds and stuff. Like you were having a really good season, regardless, right?
I'm the goat.
You're a goat. But obviously Australia doesn't have a point system, so you just have to kind of qualify through Oceanic. Can you tell people a little bit about what that is? Because some people might not know.
Well, let me break down why we don't have a point system. Ryan was there when I said this, and I said, you guys should do Worlds race for Australia. And this is what I got told. It was, you would win it every year. There is no point.
Well, that's not fair.
I mean, well, that is true. I mean, like, I actually kind of, like, low-key thought that a reason why they took away Canada's spot was because they think Jesse Cotton would win it every year. And I think that's
Jesse just won it anyway.
Right? And then Jesse just won it anyway, which is, like, really funny.
Yeah.
But they also definitely did have to give Latin America a spot because last year, right, when they gave it to the U.S. and Canada, they thought, okay, U.S. definitely has a big advantage over Canada, which is true. Like, if anybody from Canada wants to go to Worlds through the points, they definitely have to go to the U.S. like every weekend and like play events. That's just what they have to do. If somebody, in like, I think the way it was described was last year when it was Mexico in the same thing as Latin America.
Yeah, Mexico was just
somebody literally could just play Mexico City regionals.
Yeah.
And go and have more points than somebody who topped like 3 or 4 Latin American YCSs or something ridiculous.
It is a pretty big gap. It's very unfair.
Yeah. So they eventually determined the difference between Mexico and the rest of Latin America was a larger difference than the US and Canada. So they took away Canada's spot, made it North America joint, and then they gave Latin America a spot, which is fine. I just wish they'd announced it at the beginning of the season, not in January. But alas,
it's like past like most major events.
That's what they. Yeah, that's what happened. So.
All right. So Bohdan, you enter Oceanics and you're trying to get yourself that world spot. Did you you've been to Worlds before? And you are... Is this your third time to Worlds, or is it second?
Second.
Second, okay.
I also just came in at the perfect time, and I don't think I missed anything important. I was trying to fix my headphones, but yes,
there's a bit of an echo.
Second time.
I don't know who's echoing.
It's probably
me.
Don't worry, you can deal with it. Yeah, so you came into the event and you won it with Star Striker?
I came second, but yes.
Star Striker.
Oh, yeah, you get 2 spots.
Trick
Right,
touch,
fine.
yeah.
No, Bowden, Star Striker.
Kid touch, little girls. We're gonna
yes.
vote for it after.
Yes, that one.
Be children. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why did you play that deck for your qualification? I mean, like, Goki wasn't super big at the time, right?
And Link Rebo is not legal in Australia. Yeah.
Oh, rip.
We had the Gurki deck ready. We learned enough of the combos, and then I said, "Wait, why?" And then Nationals, I went undefeated, and this is where I'm gonna bring up what going undefeated means. Wait, did my
What does it mean?
thing die?
What does it mean? Yeah.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Good. I thought my thing disconnected. I was very awkward.
No. You just said, I'm going to tell you what being undefeated means, and there was a pause of like a couple seconds, and we both got really
going
confused.
undefeated means you haven't lost.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to count a draw in my record as being undefeated.
I think that's fair.
I went undefeated at Australian Nationals. That's how that works. Anyway.
So Ryan, your journey was very, very different, and I'm sure you have a lot to say on this.
I just suck and I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know, man. It's like, I'll let Boden finish, and then I'll just like...
Oh
my God.
I just went undefeated, and then I said, I'm going to play the Trick Striker deck again. And Jeff and Max had like, they both topped the regionals, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just like change a couple cards. I put like a Widow Anchor in, and then I added a Foolish Burial Goods for 41 cards. And I was like, you know what? I don't think anyone else is like better than me at the Trick Striker Miro, at least at that point in time, because I was doing some zany shit. Like I knew when I just had to be the aggressor with my my lowly cards, and it just got me there. And I ended up going undefeated again, and then like I lost the last round to time, and then proceeded to just like straight destroy everyone in Top Cut. Like that was it. I toured everyone in Top Cut and then made the finals. Just didn't care. My opponent summoned Mech Knight Purple Skyfall. Is that what it's called? And I looked at the card, picked it up and read it and said, how the fuck is my deck meant to beat this? And then proceeded to lose and in just an irrelevant finals where I think the prize difference was like complete sets of like the last 2 sets, and then like a Diabolos or whatever it is. Diabolos, whatever really? The prize card is. Sorry?
That's kind of cool. You get like a full set of a set.
Yeah, those are neat. However, like if you look at the prize structure, second place is the only place that doesn't get it, but second place also gets to go to the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship. So what are you going to do?
It was worth it.
Correct.
Okay, so Ryan, you hate Yu-Gi-Oh! After this year.
Oh my God. All right. I can't wait till chat just like yells at me when I start talking about this. All right. So basically, how for the last like 3 years, I guess I started playing competitively in 2015. So how for the last like 3 years, I've like kept my sanity is like, I'll play a lot for a format or like maybe like 2 formats. And then I'll like take a break for like 2 or 3 months. And then I'll come back and like want to play again. And then I'll like put my mind to it. And then I like, so my performance has been kind of like cyclical, right? There have been like, I'll do like really well for a format. Then I'll like either not play or like not do very well. And then do really well for a format, then like not play or not do very well. And then it kind of just like goes on and off. Like it's crazy. There's like, you know, it was like in Necros, it was like I like topped like infinite times, and then I like didn't top for like 6 months. And then with Monarch, I like topped a lot and then like didn't top for 6 months. Or, you know, stuff like that, right? It's just like and then usually I'll be like, okay, I'll like do other things. But with the World's Points thing, right? I couldn't like stop playing and kind of you know, reset. I had to play literally every single weekend. And when you have to play every single weekend and every single event that's usually pretty inconsequential, like when every regional now suddenly is worth points to go to Worlds, but like only for you, right? Like at a certain point, there were literally 3 people in North America that were like mathematically, like it was only mathematically possible for 3 people in North America to go to Worlds off of points. Like if the 3 of us stopped going for like 2 months, the person in fourth would not catch us. That was how far ahead that we were. So when you're playing and there are literally only 3 people on the continent that like matter, and you just play against somebody, and like sometimes you just lose because Yu-Gi-Oh like allows for that sometimes, right? And then it's like you just like lose like round 4 to like a dinosaur deck that just like kills you. And then you know they're not going to win again. You know that your tiebreakers are going to be awful. Like there was one event when like Jesse Cotton and I just both lost to pure dinosaur, just round 1 of a regional. It was really sick.
Yeah, well, fool me once,
and we were
shame
just
on
both
you.
tilted.
Fool me twice,
and we
shame
were
on
and
me.
we were
like,
just both tilted, right? We were just like, we just both lost to pure dinosaur, like round 1 of a regional. Like, how do we feel about this?
I mean, if
Like,
you're going to be a good
like,
player
how does
about it,
Yu-Gi-Oh
you would have
allow for this,
recognized
you
that
know?
that was the best deck,
Like,
and you
that's-
would have took it upon yourself to play dinosaurs, but you choose not to. So.
Yeah, if you played differently,
correct.
you would have won.
Yes, right. So it's like, so
Yeah.
so it's just like, well, you know, how do you like deal with that? And when it happens like every single weekend, like it's just sick. It's just not fun. Like it just makes every usually inconsequential game like matter. And that's just like a lot of stress that is like not fun to deal with, right? Like, and I guess it's entitled, I think, to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I lost, right? But it's like, that's just what happens. Like when you play 100 rounds in an FTK format, it gets to you. Like your sanity slowly begins to crumble.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you lose the roll and they FTK you, and you're like, okay. Then game 3, they FTK you again, and you're like, okay. Like, why did I drive 12 hours to this regional to just get FTK'd twice? Like, that's what happens. Like during this, right? I live in Virginia, right? So, which is like by Washington D.C. It's like middle of the East Coast, like smack in the middle. And there was a regional. The closest regional to me was in Florida. I found a cheap flight to Florida, which is, you know, like the absolute bottom. And I found a cheap flight to Florida. There was like a storm and the flight got canceled. So Friday morning, I had to make a decision. Am I just missing a regional and therefore like missing however many points? And I'm like very close, or do I drive 12 hours to this regional? And I drove 12 hours to the regional. And like, that's just what happens. So I drive 12 hours to a regional, get FTK'd twice. And I'm like, wow, I just drove 12 hours to get FTK'd twice and like X2 a regional. Like, is that what my life has come to? Right. So it's just things like that. It's just like you can only repeat that process so many times before you like just can't take it anymore.
Do you think that's you know, as shitty as that whole journey sounds like it was? Like, I mean, in the end, like, do you kind of look back and think, is that a positive? I mean, this is how like intense the competition is, that you're having to like claw your way across the country.
I mean, I'm also gonna say I got very fortunate. Like, I guess like for me it was fortunate, you know, like I lost, right? Like I lost to BB, and like he got banned for like whatever reason. Like I don't know how legitimate it was, and like it really like and that's sick too, because like he beat me, you know, he put in more time. He went to more he went to more events, like, and
then he posted a mean Facebook status about you.
I don't care. That's his right, you know. Like he's right. Like I didn't win. Like something just unfortunate happened for him, and like. Yeah, like I wasn't really involved, but yeah. So that's the other thing I think about a lot, is just like, wow, like there was a world where I did all this and then didn't even go.
So
and
what
like,
about the cake that Calvin made you for when BB got banned?
I have no comment on that.
Do you still have the picture? I want to show the stream the picture.
I was just asleep when that. No, please don't show the stream the picture.
Okay, fine.
I was just asleep when that happened. Like I was literally just asleep, and then Calvin just. Anyway, he's ridiculous. Calvin is an entity all his own. But yeah, it's like, and I think next year, right? I've already gotten like 6 or 7 people messaging me being like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about going for the World's Points. Like, what do you think I should do? You know, like how did you go about organizing it?" And like, I think what ended up happening this year was pretty early on. There were front runners, so no one else was really going for it. You know, like BB had been going for it from the beginning. Jesse and I weren't really going for it, and then we just both did really, really well at YCSs that we just pulled ahead of everyone except for BB. So pretty early on, it was just us three. Like by January, it was just us three were the only real competitors. I feel like at the beginning of this season, there are going to be a lot of people going for it. This is now the third year of World's Points. People have now seen how it's shaped up twice, right? There's more like it's more solved, if that makes sense, of like how to like maximize efficiency and like how many regionals you really have to go to and like how often you have to go there. And I feel like more people are going to try to do it. That there will be, to take your words, a very arduous race throughout the whole season. I feel like I think there will be like 10. Yeah, I think there will be like 10 people going for it from the beginning, and we haven't seen that. You know, the first year of World's Points, they didn't even announce their existence until January, so obviously nobody was doing it. Then the second year, they changed it drastically in January, which kind of eliminated a lot of people from contention. This year, I hope if there are any changes, they will announce them as soon as possible. So it's all on the table right at the beginning of the season. But I think it'll be very interesting this year. I think this will be the first year that like it's been around long enough. I think more people are going to try to do it than last year.
My recommendation is move to France and yeah, you'll probably go to Worlds, but I don't know.
Ryan, so I mean, you obviously had like the hardest time, I guess, maybe because you had to dedicate like pretty much a whole year to it. Looking back and stuff, also, like with everything taken into consideration, was it worth it?
If you say no, I'm so mad.
Like, would you drag your ass across the country for 12 hours to get FTK'd again, like for another year? Like, was that worth it?
Now that I have, so are you saying would I do it again, or would
I'll not really do it again?
Now that I've experienced, that I've experienced it, do I think what I've done this year was worth it?
Sure, let's go with a bit of both.
Yeah, I think this year, based on how it ended up, the trip was amazing, like borderline life-changing, I would say. The actual tournament obviously didn't go too well for me, but that's like I've kind of gotten jaded from that recently. It's like I've just like done really badly at like every tournament I've entered like for a while, you know. So like the tournament, like I shipped the tournament, whatever. But the trip was like fantastic. It was insane. So yeah, I think the trip was worth it for sure. Would I do it again? I don't think so. Now that I, so. Because
if you like accidentally top a few YCSs again, are you going to start attending every week?
I don't think so. So one of the other reasons why I ended up doing it, was like, there was no way we could have foreseen that the grind would have been in an FTK format and then in like Trickstar Goki format. You know what I mean? Like we had no way to like know that was where the game was going. When the race started, I had just come off of the season of a lifetime, with Spiral. Like when I decided to go for World's Points, I had just like won a YCS and an ARG in like a month. Like I was literally on fire. I was like, oh, if I go for this, I'm getting it 100%. No one's even touching me. And then I just did really bad for 6 months. So, so there's the other thing, right? It's like,
that's probably one other thing that's really annoying about the Worlds race is that you don't know what the format's going to be like. So that
that's also right. But like in theory, like this is just, if you're good enough, you should be able to win no matter what. Maybe I did awful with Pendulum. I've never done well with a Pendulum deck. Every time I've tried to play any sort of Pendulum deck, I guess like Metal Foe is an exception for me, but like, I've tried to play like 6 different Pendulum decks since the mechanic came out, and like I've done well with literally one of them. Like I don't know what it is. I am not the master of Pendulum. I am not the Pendulum sorcerer. Like I don't know, like I'm just not. That just is a mechanic that like eludes me. But
not been sticking to the game plan enough, eh?
Like if somebody I don't know, if somebody is just very good at like adjusting to new formats very quickly, then like this is something they should be able to do. I guess I found that I'm not good at that, that's not my strong suit. So, yeah.
Bohdan, what was your thoughts on the formats leading up to Worlds? I mean, obviously you didn't like particularly race them or anything, but
I played the Spiral one, and I didn't like that one that much. And then I was like working as organized play manager for one of Konami's distribution partners, so I didn't get to play the Pendulum one. I actually got to play like 2 regionals on like the tail end of the Pendulum one after I like ended up moving back home, and I was just like, oh, this deck is insane, and I imagine playing multiple rounds of people like playing that deck would be disgusting. And yeah, and then what was like after that? After that was like Jersey, so it was like testing like Trickstar, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't like awful. I didn't think it was terrible. Like as soon as the Sky Striker cards came out, I literally just like I could not like lose.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why.
I really liked the beginning of the Sky Striker. I actually really liked that.
Yeah.
I didn't like it so much when Goki got more developed.
Yeah.
Like that was like Goki's not really fun to play against. Like I don't know, not that should matter, but it's like that's also something is when you're playing so many rounds, you'd like to be able to have fun, right? But playing against a bunch of Goki is like actually just not very fun.
Well, like think about it like this: we were just like sitting in your house, and we're just learning, like, oh, this is how like pure Trickstar like plays against like Trickstar Sky Striker. This is like Phantom Sky Blaster combos. This is like all the cool stuff we were learning, right? I think that was like probably the most fun I've had because we were just sitting in your house. And we just like figured out the format, like just fucking drop of a hat.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like we're just like, oh well, you know what? Maybe pure Sky Striker isn't the best deck. Like literally just put Ghost Ogre in my deck. I'll Ghost Ogre multi-roll, learning how to not get Firewall OTK'd and like all this stuff. Like we're just killing everyone. Like it was insane.
So in preparation for Worlds and leading up to the tournament itself, how did you guys end up like partnering up essentially? Like, how did that process
I don't know, like
very early on. Yeah, so like you can explain it, Bohdan, if you want. I don't know. The message that you sent me, you can explain.
I said, hey, instead of us testing with everyone else, like, don't get me wrong, I liked pretty much everyone else that we went to Worlds with. Like, honestly, I could literally just say I liked everyone that we went to Worlds with this year. They were very fun.
Yeah.
However,
yeah, they were. Yeah.
I thought that the bigger the circle that we made, the more detrimental it would be to our individual success. So I said, hey, let's just do what we can, and then we did, and here we are now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So was it just like you and Ryan together?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as Worlds, like we had a few of our other friends not going to Worlds helping us out. But like as in terms of people going to Worlds, it was just us. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Now, discussing the Worlds format itself and stuff, what was your, I guess, testing process like? What decks did you circle through? Which ones did you decide on? And what were the problems and positives?
Oh, can I talk about the crazy ones? Can I please talk about the crazy, ridiculous ones?
Yeah, what's the dumbest idea you had for Worlds?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
this is nuts. Can I please?
Don't tell anyone.
Please.
Okay, please. All right.
Okay. So at a certain point, this was like for weeks. Bohdan and I, like every night, we're just like, okay. We established that we didn't really want to play Goki. Like pretty early on, we were like, this is a tournament where Goki will have the biggest target on its back. Anyone we play who's not playing Goki will be playing the most ridiculous anti-Goki deck ever conceived. And that ended up being correct. Anyone not playing Goki was playing a crazy anti Goki list. So then we were then at the crossroads of, do we make a deck that beats all the decks that try to beat Goki? Like if a deck is targeting Goki, like do we try to target that or do we try to target Goki? Eventually we decided to target Goki. But it was kind of a conundrum because if you play something, if you play the cards that out the U-Link, right? So you play like Sphere Mode, then you just get Gumbler, right? Right? Yeah, or like, you know, Cyber Dragon, right? To out the U-Link, you just get Gumblered. So we tried to make a deck that invalidated Gumbler and then just played all the cards that out the U. So there was a point where Calvin told me, you should. Calvin said, "Dark World." so we built a Dark World deck, and for like 15
Wait, so
minutes.
What? Like he suggested it, and you didn't like, kind of look at him and just go, "Oh, okay, no, Calvin," and then move on. You actually got the physical cards together and tried it.
Let me tell you.
I was
the
so
deck
mad.
was for like 15 minutes. We were convinced the deck was insane, but listen, okay.
But hold up, how did it even get to the point of you actually physically sleeving up Dark World?
No. We just built it on our phones. We didn't actually sleeve up a Dark World deck. So the deck was 3 Grapha, 3 Brow, 3 Snow. I think it was like 2 gold or like 3 gold, and then it was just draw cards. It was like Into the Void, Dealings, Desires, just draw spells, and then like Rivalry goes in match. So you literally, if you went first, you just played your 28 draw spells and then stuck Grapha and then had Rivalry.
Boy.
Or Gozen. So Goki literally so you literally had Grapha, Rivalry, Gozen, and that was your turn 1. And
Nice
Goki
deck.
just can't beat that. Yeah. Then if you went second, if they gumblered you get to choose. So you just discard all your Dark Worlds. Then you draw, right? So they go Gumbler, you discard like Brow Snow, or you discard like Gold, and then you pop their board and Brow draw 2. So you pop their board. Yeah. But then, so this deck sounds crazy, right? That was our deck, and for like 15 minutes, we were convinced it was ridiculous, and then we realized if they just give us Ibli, you cannot special summon Dark Worlds.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if they give you Ibli and then they Gumbler you, you cannot use Gold, Silva, Rainbow, and
Rainbow.
So that was the other one. Is they Gumbler you and then you discard Rainbow, summon it, and then you just like Regeki them. They have no board, then you set goes and match and kill them. That was
yeah.
But if they give you Ibli, it just turns off every card in your deck, and we're like, wow, Goki's so dumb.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
we were convinced Goki was just like the nuts. And like again, probably still convinced it's the nuts because what are you gonna do?
How did you end up settling on not playing Goki?
Well,
Like,
we
what
just
was
said,
the decision first? Was the
this?
decision Goki isn't good enough, or was it Altageist is the better choice?
Do you want to know the first deck that we made? So my friend, I don't know, you might know of him, Dirk Wagner.
Yeah.
So he sent me, our other friend RJ Scarpelli sent me a deck list, and like he'd been asking me for help for the WCQ for like the longest time, and I was like, oh, I think Rivalry is like really good, just like in the main deck of Trickstar Sky Striker, because you can just like Floodgate Gurki, and then in the mirror match if they Hornet drones, you just like pick the Trickstar cards, and then you flip Rivalry, and then like they just like end their turn, like they have to just like slam down their own Trickstar cards, and it was just like nutty. Like I didn't use Rivalry as like a floodgate half the time. It was just like I will flip Rivalry, lock you for a turn, and then just like try and like rush you with all my cool Trickstar cards, or like maybe do some Sky Striker stuff.
Cool Trickstar cards. Very cool.
They
Kanye,
turned it
thank
into
you.
a deck that was like Gerzen match, Rivalry, like 3 Shared Ride, some other garbage, and then some Mech Knights, and then they played like a Trickstar engine. So this is basically like the first place Worlds deck, like in a nutshell. And this was like a deck that didn't get posted anywhere. And I was convinced that this was the deck that like we would end up playing for Worlds. Like, little did we know, like, oh, hey, not being able to search Reincarnation kind of sucks because sometimes you need to set a trap to like let your Purple Nightfall or your fucking Blue Sky summon. But that was whatever. Like we tested Trickstar for a bit, and it literally just like it was literally looking like the deck that had won the event like last week.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually just
really
like
sick.
insane to think about.
I don't think that we got far enough in testing. Like we built it to beat Goki, and we didn't really get far enough in like. I think had we played it more, we would have been like, okay, now we have to beat Alter Guys and all that stuff, and we would have put in like millions and like Inspector Border. But like the other thing was we did play Cyber Dragon, right? That was something.
We did. We played Cyber Dragon.
Oh, a big thing that actually like. Before we got the official like World's ban list, there were a couple cards we weren't sure if they were going to be legal because cards have to be out in like every territory, I think, in order for them to be legal for Worlds.
Yeah.
So there were some really random cards that like didn't have a Korean release date, or like if they did, the Wikia didn't have them listed. So like we weren't sure if they were legal. So like we weren't sure if Mega Fleet was gonna be legal.
Yeah.
And we were pretty sure Link Haribo and Gumbler were going to be, but like at the time, Korea hadn't gotten the starter deck or the collector's pack yet. Like eventually all those cards ended up being legal, but it was like kind of frustrating, like trying to like make a deck and like not knowing what cards were legal.
That if it's out in Japan, it's actually just legal in like Korea.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
I still don't think
formats or something.
Yeah, I still don't think a Korean Mega Fleet Dragon exists yet.
Yeah,
but like it was just legal for Worlds, so like yeah, so cool, whatever. Oh well.
But yeah, the Link Haribo one was a big one because we weren't sure if like the starter deck was in like the time frame where it would be legal. Same with Gumbler, but Gumbler seemed more plausible. It was almost comparative to like Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon, like maybe like 2 years ago, like the last time I went, where it's just like, oh, Alternative comes out a month before Worlds, maybe it's not legal, who knows? And then it was, and then Gumbler's legal. And like, oh, Link Haribo is legal now too. So like so if Link Haribo wasn't legal, then like I think our Goki deck, like our anti like Goki deck was like sort of a bit better at the time. Because Gumbler literally just like threw every possibility out the window. Because our theory was we're just gonna draw a floodgate and we're gonna draw a card like Solemn Strike. Or you can draw like 2 rivalry, like a bunch of cards like break the U-Link, right? But when they Gumbler you for 2, we realized this like pretty quickly is if you draw Strike plus Rivalry versus the Gumbler play with a Tri-Gate negate, you can flip Rivalry and Strike, but they have like exact game on board, and it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're left with Gumbler Firewall and like something else, and then it's just like exactly 65 or something like that. I don't remember, but it's like it's very and then even if they don't, you still only have 1 card left. So like you lose anyway. But yeah, Gumbler is a really frustrating card to try to build against.
Yeah.
Was that even a
thing? To the point where we were playing like I was testing Needle Sealing because I thought, if they're doing the combo for Gumbler and they're not ending with Cerberus, which was like the only video out at the time wasn't ending with Cerberus. Obviously, you can like probably prioritize Cerberus if this becomes like more and more relevant. But we would just want to draw like, oh, I'm going to draw my Rivalry and I'll draw my Needle Sealing. Now I just get to wipe your board. The thing is, like, you do that, and again, you'd only have 1 card to play with. You wouldn't be able to do anything. So we just like figured, okay, well,
and
we need
that's
to find
where
the perfect
Brow
number
came
of
in.
hand traps. Shut up, shut up. So yeah, we needed to find a way to like have enough hand traps, and then you also wanted enough hand traps to beat Dolphin. You wanted enough hand traps to beat Call by the Grave, and then like I don't know, the magic numbers seem to be like maybe anywhere between 14 to 16.
Oh yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Well, it was 12 to 16 in my opinion.
I played 16. I played 16 for a while in testing. Eventually, we ended up meaning 12. Right at the end,
it was like what? I think it 3 cherries, 3 impermanents, 2 ash, 2 ogre, and 2 thing. Yeah, so 12.
2 bell. Yeah, it was 12. Yeah, because ash is at 2 for Worlds format for some reason. Japan just has ash at 2 and actually at 3. What a weird world.
Well, Altergeist then. What's so good about that deck? Why did you sell it?
Impermanence and then summon multifig.
So basically, once we established that beating Gumbler with like exclusively, or beating Goki with exclusively floodgates wasn't really viable, right? Because like originally in our Trickstar deck, didn't we have like no hand traps or very few, and it was all about you let them U-board you. Then you just out there U-board with the most efficient cards possible. Then you have a 1-card engine. However, when they discard 4 cards from your hand, it doesn't matter. You lose anyway, right? So then we're like, okay, you can't just out the U. You need hand traps. So then it's like, all right, if we like Ash a Soul, like that, Ashing a Soul is usually not enough to stop them. But like hypothetically, if you Ash a Soul and they go, okay, pass. What is your Trickstar deck doing? You're summoning Candina. you search a reincarnation that doesn't matter. If they equip their Isolde with Phoenix Blade, you can't even attack over it. You're just passing back. Then they just kill you again, right? So we needed a deck that could play enough hand traps that you stop them. Then your engine creates more interrupts, which is Marionetter searches the protocol, Melisy kills the Isolde, and then you can just set traps. And then, of course, Multi-Faker summons Socoitus, which is like, it just kind of like gives you an interrupt, which just snowballs into more and more advantage, right? So it was just a small engine that lets you disrupt them on the previous turns or on the following turns with your own engine, but can support enough hand traps so you don't die in the first place.
Yeah.
Why was
it also
what was
sort of
why so much
suck.
fear about Gumblar? Because I mean,
because
that card is ridiculous.
It is, but like, do you
cards.
really think like, you know? Because I think like when in the deck building process, you know, all these really good players go to Worlds. Everyone's trying to like one up each other, so like everyone's trying to like build the best deck, but then the deck that beats the best deck, and then maybe double bluff and just play the best deck straight out. Is like
but Gumblar's an unexploitable strategy. All the cards that are already in the deck are beating the Gurky deck, right? Like if you draw a hand trap, then good. However, if you draw a hand trap and it gets called by the Graved, and you're playing against the Spooky Trap deck, I don't think the Yulink's going to do that much because they're still going to have 5 cards on that turn. However, if you utilize a card like Gumblar, which is just an extra deck card, and it doesn't require you to play any cards differently, like you literally just have to do your combo differently, and then you take 4 cards away from me. If I've used a hand trap and you've called by the Grave me or you've dolphined me, like God forbid, I'm playing with
God, Dolphin.
nothing.
There were some games in testing where we would get dolphined, lose a card, Gumbler for 2, Firewall, add back the Dolphin, summon it, lose a 4th, and then Gumbler us again. Literally got our whole hand away.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just like, okay, I guess we need 15 hand traps.
So that's why it was like kind of crazy after the event, seeing that a lot of people weren't playing Gumbler.
Yeah,
because,
that was really tilting
it
to
just
me.
made no sense. It doesn't, like, if you're getting hand trapped, you're like not doing anything anyway. I don't think anything that breaks your board is like hurting you anyway, because they're playing with 2 cards. Like it's ridiculous to think about, but it just seems like people really neglected it. I feel like the only person who really utilized it was like the OCG player
Jesse.
that I cherished. He had Gumbler in his extra deck, but he was also playing like Armageddon Knight Malicious. He topped, and Jesse topped, and he was playing like Gillosaurus Turbo. Jesse literally went into it and he said, "You know what? My deck's a combo deck. I'm gonna find the best ways to combo, and like fuck you." That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Did Jesse end up playing Gumbler? I know he told me that he wasn't originally, but I think he said after so many people played Altergeist, and we didn't know what everyone was playing before we turned in our deck list, but like we knew what like a couple people were playing. We got kind of like the lay of the land a little bit, and we knew there were more Altergeists than we. Yeah,
were playing on the internet, and that was very depressing.
And we don't even know how. Like I don't even know how anybody found out, but like that's mostly irrelevant. But it's like, so I think what Jesse told me was like he wasn't playing Gumbler, and then I think he added it when he saw there were more Altergeists.
Yeah,
because like rivalry on your U-Link is like really bad, so you just Gumbler them and then you win. But
okay, it's really interesting that like looking back and stuff. You know, I guess you guys are gonna have very biased views on this question because Ryan came second from last, Bohdan came second, so it's like very disparaging results there for the exact same list and citing patterns and technical play, I assume. Do you think in the end that your deck was the correct choice?
I think I would have changed 5 cards total. I think of the 70 card list, I would have changed 5, and then I think that would have been the best.
But it was the correct
Literally
archetype
five.
for you personally.
I think it was a good pick for the event.
Okay.
All right, you go first. Say what you changed, and then I'll tell you what I changed.
Okay. Okay. I think Inspector Border should have definitely been somewhere on our side. We were citing it for a while. And then eventually decided. So Inspector Border was going first against Goki, and then it was also in for the mirror. And then we found out that going first against Goki, it just wasn't as good as we wanted it to be. And we found Thunder King to be better against Goki. But I think because there was so much more Altergeist, it would have been better to just have Border be like in against Goki, maybe a little bit worse than Thunder King, but then it'd be really good against the mirror, which Thunder King is really bad against the mirror. So that would be 2. I know Bohdan thinks Lullaby is insane. I think it was pretty good. I think in the mirror, being able to call Inspector Border is really good, which like just goes to show if we're activating Lullaby and calling Inspector Border, why weren't we just playing Inspector Border? Right? Yes. So like I think
However,
there's a world where we
in the mirror match, the games that I won with it, I was calling Marionette or multi-FarfaYGO.
Yeah, I know. So I think that maybe our Thunder Kings should have been. Oh, the other thing was we gave too much respect to Pure Striker. I think the Thunder King should have been Inspector Borders, and the shared rides should have been Mistaken Arrests.
Okay, shared rides
that
did
might
suck.
Be
However, I don't think
was
Mistaken Arrest was the card either.
Okay, sure, but I think that shared ride was very bad, and we should have put anything else, like literally anything else.
I feel like the shared rides probably should have been Vanity's Call.
Yeah,
just for like,
that's fair.
Yeah, just for all intents and purpose, like it's just I will Vanity's Call. You're 2 Goki years old, and now you end your career.
That's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah. So
I
think
Bohdan,
those
what,
5.
was
I think it
was
was
the archetype correct for you? You wouldn't have, played something else in hindsight?
I mean, I would have played Goki if I knew all the combos, because I just feel like, like playing like Jesse literally just like Jesse and I both went like undefeated, and like we drew with each other, and then we just didn't lose to anyone else. And then Jesse just got like randomly shit on by the dude that won the whole tournament in top 8. But like Jesse's game was just relatively like unwinnable. Like he just got Goki'd in the wrong part of the tournament. He could have got like anti-Goki'd, last round when it just didn't matter. And he was already locked into top cut, but no, it just happened to him in top 8. That's just how it goes, right?
To the same opponent. He beat the guy in round 5 and then lost him in top 8, and it's like, okay, unlucky.
Yeah,
like that sucks.
Like Jesse literally could have just like, I don't know, Jesse was just the best Goki player there. Like I don't know what else to say.
By a wide margin, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, without going into like too much details and stuff. For you, let's start with Ryan. What happened to you? Like, what do you think was like the ultimate issue for your performance at Worlds? Like, was it a case of, because like it is so bizarre that you and Bohdan had pretty much card for card the list.
So
he second.
I don't think there's a way to necessarily explain it without going into detail, but I'll try to make it as brief as possible. It was
I mean, not into detail of each specific match you played against, but in general, kind of like.
So basically,
just do the relevant one.
We had our tech cards, right? So like most people were playing Strike, we played Mind Crush, like Lullaby as opposed to like something else for the mirror, right? So like those are very polarizing, and I think like you'll draw like Strike will be, let's say, like a 7 out of 10 card like every single time, right? Mind Crush I think will be a 10 out of 10 card or a 4 out of 10 card. And I think it will be a 10 out of 10 card more often than a 4 out of 10 card. But like I Mind Crushed when my opponent had 2 personal spoofings, and like they spoofinged, they got a guy, I Mind Crushed, they chained the other spoofing, they shuffled the guy back, I discarded my Faker when I missed off Mind Crush, that's game, right? Like when Bohdan did it, I guess they only had 1 spoofing, and they discarded their opponent's Faker, and then he summoned his own, and he auto wins. You know what I mean? Like it's just very small things like
my Mind Crush didn't do anything
like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure, right? Or it's like
lost me the game. I don't know. If everyone wants to say that,
it was like, sure, it lost me the game too. So maybe Mind Crush, which is awful.
But Mind Crush was meant to be a pointer of the Red Lotus, but I just didn't get to like test it out as much as I would have liked to. I also just couldn't find that card. It just doesn't exist at all. Period.
Yeah,
crazy.
That is true too. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I think it was like a lot of my matches were like super bizarre. Like I lost 1 round in time when I was up 7 cards because like there's a language barrier sometimes, and like they don't always give you appropriate time extensions. Like they definitely try to, but like if you have like a long thing, right? There's like a big issue with like a translation of a card that takes like 3 minutes, right? They'll give you a 3-minute time extension. When you have 6 different problems that each take a minute, they don't always give you that, So like one of my rounds, I had like a couple different issues with different cards that took maybe 45 seconds each. So I lost like, 7 minutes off my round. Because we had like a lot of small, like, translation things about like where the semicolons were, like costs or whatever, right? And then I lose 7 minutes off my round. and then I lose in time when I'm up 7 cards, and like sucks, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything like super crazy. Like I wouldn't have actually changed my deck. I think the deck was pretty good. Like I would have changed a little bit, I guess, but sometimes things just, sometimes things just happen.
Do you think that's kind of the problem with sort of anti-meta trap decks like Altergeist? They're very high variance.
I mean, that's just the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh.
But do you think Altergeist and decks like it suffer more than normal decks? Well, I say normal decks, like, combo
no.
decks.
I mean, no.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No.
I think like it's all the same. Like if I was playing Goki, like, or if we were both playing Goki, like maybe one of us bricks round 2, the other one doesn't. Like it's all very, like it's all very similar. Of just like you can only do so much, and like sucks that I didn't do as well as I wanted to. Very happy Bohdan did well. I think our deck was pretty good. I think we prepared a lot, and I'm glad that one of us like did as well as I thought we should have.
Yeah, it makes it mean more than like if we both just scrubbed, and then it's like,
if
wow,
we both just do awful, and we're just like, wow, like we wasted all this time. But
all right, Bohdan then. I think probably the most important thing to go over for you is obviously many people watched the final. The backseat dueling was real. Can you like explain so people are just sort of kind of understanding of what exactly happened?
I'm gonna go off like what I just remember, because like obviously it just runs through. So game 1, when I like summoned the Circuitus in attack, that was me just being retarded, and I know it summons in defense. I know how every card in my deck works. There might be some interactions. Like obviously, like they had us wake up at 7 in the morning, and then we had to play our top cut thing at like 9. And then you just sat there for 7 hours until the finals. You know what I mean? So, like, obviously I'm fatigued and it's ridiculously hot there and I'm playing in front of 2,000 people, but whatever. Let's argue that
it's crazy. I gave you 7 hours of downtime.
Yeah,
Yes.
The schedule was ridiculous. It literally, like, I'm pretty sure Bohdan, like, there may have been 8 hours in between Bohdan winning top 4 and starting the finals.
Oh, yeah, it was great. However, this is also the funny thing. So we show up for top 4, and we're told that it's 1 hour, like, previously.
Oh, yeah, this sucks.
The head judge comes over, and he goes, I look at the clock, like, the big screen clock to the left, and it says 40 minutes. And they just go, wait, no, sorry. So top 4 was meant to be 50 minutes. The final was meant to be an hour. So the head judge comes over. He's like, yeah, so top 4 is 40 minutes. And we're just like, wow, that's stupid. And then the finals is just, he goes, yeah, look, I managed to get them to 50 minutes for the finals. Like it's some kind of like bartering war. Like, you know what? The best I could do is 50 minutes. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Like these are conditions that are fine, I guess. But obviously when you factor in the pile shuffling, the language barrier, like checking what a card does on the iPad, it just turns it into like just not a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just more like, oh man, I hope I can get some damage in. Like now I'm fitting 3 games of Yu-Gi-Oh! Into 50 minutes, but I'm also, taking a literacy test and getting a workout with my hands pretty frequently by just shuffling, or. But like I don't know. The finals, maybe like I think I don't know, like I told Ryan, like we had a game plan. I told Ryan like, oh, I'm just gonna do this and this, and I just didn't for some reason. I should have summoned a Malusi of the Faker. Yeah, like game 1, that would have been fine because I would have had double Malusi. I could have killed 2 cards when he goes in me. Instead, I just had to ride out the bird dude. Like that's whatever. I won game 1, I guess. Then like game 2. So here's where it all went downhill. When I Lullaby and both of his Inspector Borders are banished. And then someone makes the argument, oh, you could have called Cyber Dragon. We were 99% sure he had 2 Cyber Dragon in his deck, right? But not that he was going to have them in his deck going first, game 2. So I didn't call Cyber Dragon. Yeah. Weird. And then I called Border and it's gone. So maybe I should have called Cyber Dragon. I think at that point, everyone would have just like gotten on the stage, shook my hand and said, congratulations, you win. Like that just should have been what happened if I called Cyber Dragon game 2. And then like, I don't know, like, so that happened. I thought his set card could be like heavy Storm Duster. And I was, I don't know, I was like kind of weirded out by it. I figured maybe setting the impermanence might not be correct because it might just get sniped by Duster or forced out by Light Stage on the following turn. So that's when I figured, or if it's Gozen, then like bad luck to me. I guess I could have played better. I don't fucking know. So I impermanence his border, and then I summon Faker, and it gets Gozened, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just set my Heavy Storm Duster, my Spoofing, and I think like another card. I wasn't sure what it was. And then I miss like a 50-50 to hit both Gozens or something, and then I just die.
Yeah.
So here's like game 2 is where like I think we both realize that this match is probably going to go to time. He's checking the clock, I'm checking the clock, and you know we both see the writing on the wall. I'm like, I was literally like I was very close to just like summoning dude and crashing into border, so I would lose quicker because you can't concede in Top Cut. You can concede during Swiss. You have to call a judge to get the concession.
Oh,
like,
that was so funny
by the judge.
I just think
But, like,
that's so ridiculous.
I literally would have had to have killed myself in the game, like to just get to game 3 a lot quicker. And then game 3 rolls around. So I think that I don't do anything differently turn 1, obviously. Like, I'm just summoning Thunder King. Oh, weird, he Cyber Dragons me, and then he passes. Malusik direct for 5, make Link Karibo, search Faker. So I think my hand at that point is still just like Sulcoitus, Faker, and then like maybe a hand trap or something. I'm not too sure. On his turn, he like summons Lycanroc, cracks. I draw, I Marionette. He ogres and Veilers it. So here's where I think I could have done something differently, and this is something that the backseat duelers like weren't fucking elaborate on because you know I was already dead to rights like because of the time rule. Like by the time I mind crushed the Eater of Millions, so we'll get into that later. But so Ryan brought this up to me, and like I looked a lot deeper and deeper. Given the cards that he had and the information that was presented, we knew that he had these cards between like his hand and his draw for turn, which was he had a Lycanroc on the field, he had another ogre in his hand, an Effect Veiler, a Mind Control, and then like an Eater of Millions. These are the 4 cards between like 3 cards in his hand and the top card of his deck, right? So we can never know which one is which. But like for the sake of this argument, I'll just like because like obviously activating the Lullaby changes the top card. Weird. So I can just not activate the Lullaby because resolving the Lullaby literally takes 2 to 3 minutes. Who would have thought? I could have set the Lullaby. So this is like in the time scenario. In the not time scenario, I'll go like a lot deeper as well because obviously just it all changes. So I'm on it's 7-5 to 7-8. I would set Lullaby. And then I would proceed to the end phase of the turn. I would activate my Heavy Storm Duster targeting my Lullaby. I would summon Multi-Faker. My Multi-Faker would summon Sulcoitus. I would activate Sulcoitus, bouncing Multi-Faker and bouncing his Lycanroc. And then I would proceed to draw phase, Mind Crush, the Lycanroc, and then summon Multi-Faker again. He either ogres or does something else. If he ogres, that's fine. I'll proceed to summon another Altergeist card, potentially maybe Marionetta. I feel like Marionetta probably has like the most mileage in that situation.
Yeah, because you still have a Sulcoitus on your field too.
Yeah,
so you can
or
bounce
even
the Marionetta.
Seek, right? I think either or is fine.
Yeah, either one. Yeah.
At that point, we also sort of like ran the numbers where it's just like if the order of if the cards in his like hand don't change, let's say the top card just makes his entire hand the same because I'm not lullabying. So let's just say those are still the cards he has. So he would still have Ogre, Veiler, Mind Control, Eater of Millions. And I would be Mind Crushing the Lycanroc. He would Mind Control my Sulcoitus. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there, I'm still like very 50-50 in terms of how the game is going to play out. We can say that he might Eater of Millions me. Maybe he doesn't Ogre my Multi-Faker. Maybe he does Ogre my Multi-Faker. Regardless, I think that I'm going to be in a better position at that point in time, just based on maybe what I would be able to like have. You know what I mean?
My biggest question that occurred to me was, you know, why did you even keep Lullaby in Game 3?
You call it Inspector Border.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
Lullaby is Inspector
so
Border.
like just to clarify, like there was still like 7 or 8 minutes left on the clock. And I was going first. So, Yeah, I don't know anyone who wants to like say, oh, that costs 2,000 life points. I don't think that's a good enough way to look at cards like that, especially when there's still like turns were 3 turns. I'm just unfortunate that my resolving my effect took me fucking,
4 minutes.
3 minutes,
Well,
3
but
minutes,
you
and
see,
then bam.
that's the thing with Worlds, right? Because they make you do your wrist exercise for like 40 seconds, and then you give it back, and then the judge shuffles, then you go back, and that's like, oh, that's one search complete. I just wasted like a minute and a half. Is that not something to take into consideration?
Well, that was another reason why we didn't want to play Goki to begin with, is because doing the Goki combos and you draw with your nightmares, you do that 10 times a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually a big reason that we also didn't want to play pure Sky Striker, is every time you engage, you have to power shuffle your deck. So you go engage for whatever, draw a card, shuffle, Kagari, add back engage, search, draw a card, shuffle. It just takes so much time to do nothing.
It's dumb. But...
All their guys searches twice, and then you win.
Pretty much.
Well, I suppose that's a fair enough summary of the final itself.
Okay. So when there's no time, this is like the really cool one. So could if there's no time, I don't have to lullaby. I pass my turn. My opponent draws, assuming he draws to the same cards, like whatever. He attacks with Lycoris. I take 16 and then another 8. So I've taken 2,000 total. I lullaby for I can lullaby for Cyber Dragon here and have it not be terrible. So I can do that, and then I can like proceed to Cyber Dragon, Silcoitus, and then I get to set up a double Silcoitus on the following turn, which isn't terrible, I think. Like I get to do some like zany stuff. Just the fact that like the Ogre hitting the multi-pick is so huge. I just would have had like another dude on the board, and hopefully like I would have snowballed a little further. But I don't know. I also like even like for the Mind Crush, I was just dead already. So this is where people are just dumb. Like, why didn't he call Eater of Millions? He was checking his extra deck. Because if he has like Eater of Millions, then he can still summon any of the hand traps that he has, link with the fucking Cyber Dragon that he just mind controlled, and then proceed to pause. Right?
I think that Eater call is like it's so ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, he should call Eater because he checked his extra deck. Like those are not related at all.
I am actually gonna say that like I will say that like it didn't. I think that based on the scenario of time, and that Bohdan is right that if he had Eater of Millions, Bohdan loses even if he calls it. So you have to call something else and hope he doesn't have Eater of Millions. Because even if you discard Eater of Millions, you still lose. If there was no time limit, Eater of Millions is the correct Mind Crusher.
It's the only card that doesn't beat Malusi.
We had I will say they kind of like corralled us backstage, all the World's competitors. So it was like me, Darren, Jesse, like Josh. We were all sitting there and we were watching, and we all wanted Bohdan to win. And we had a read on his back row, like because Bohdan hadn't flipped his traps in like 3 turns. We're like, okay, that has to be Heavy Storm Duster and Mind Crush. When Bohdan flipped Mind Crush, we all agreed, okay, he has to call Eater of Millions. Like nothing to do with him checking his extra deck. Just that was the only card that did anything. As it turns out, and we didn't know. We didn't know there was time either. So like they didn't tell us that they were in time. So when Bohdan like Truth Return passed and then conceded, everyone, even backstage, was super confused because they didn't tell us anything.
Yeah, it was tilting.
Like, so had there not been time, Eater of Millions is actually just the correct call there, like unobjectively. Like, not checking, he checked his extra deck, that's dumb. But even if just draw for turn and you have Mind Crush and you have to use it after the Mind Control, Eater of Millions is also the correct call.
Oh, I was this close to like Mind Crushing like just a monster. Because like all I can think was so like let's put this in perspective, right? So he can just not banish the Cyber Dragon. Yeah, he can summon Eater of Millions, and then let's look at the damage output that my deck can do. So I was at a 1,400 deficit, and he could have just linked away. You can link with Eater of Millions, right? I'm not like totally out of this world, right? Yeah. Okay, he could have made Cerberus, discarded the Effect Veiler, targeted Malusi, and then attacked for 16 direct. That's a 3,000 deficit. No card that I can search lets me do anything outside of literally, I would have to draw this sequence of cards. I would have to search Multi-FarfaYGO, draw Pot of Desires, and then proceed to like
Impermanence,
like,
smell seat.
size and impermanence, and then there was no way I was getting back in time for 3K, like period. Yeah. So I think that was a mistake on his part that he didn't see, and he was playing it very cautious. But like I knew, even if I let the Malusik resolve, the best I can do is just like Marionetta, set trap into Faker into Silcoitus, bounce Faker back to my hand, bounce like the Eater of Millions, or bounce whatever Xyz he makes, right? Like, sorry, Linky makes. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like stupid shit like that. Like, that's the only way I could do it, because you can't summon 2 dudes that are doing damage unless you multi-Faker into Marionetta, which you can't do off of Marionetta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like that was the thing. Like, if there's 10 minutes left in time, like let's say the tournament intended to have a 60-minute final, I'm fine. If I had 1 extra turn in time, maybe I'm fine, because maybe I don't mind. I can see myself surviving. There's also instances where I just see myself maybe not lullabying, or like lullaby a turn later. You know what I mean? Like, those are the ones that like are running through my head. However, I just think everyone that just says, "Why didn't you mind crush Eater of Millions?" You just don't understand the game. I understand it better than you, and that's why I didn't call Eater of Millions, because that's the obvious choice. Yeah, but like I guess you lost because you didn't call this card. I lost anyway.
Like, if there was no time, like, yes, if there was no time limit, calling Eater of Millions is correct, and he wins if he does it. But there is time, if his draw for turn is Eater of Millions, Bohdan loses 100% no matter what. Does not matter what cards he draws.
Yeah.
Even if like it doesn't matter, which is unfortunate, but.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I had to put it on like monster plus spell. If it's monster plus spell and maybe it's Lycris, I was gonna call a hand trap too. Like, I was like, what could he have in his hand? He's used 2 Ogre. I was very close to calling Ash Blossom. I was very close to calling like even potentially like Droll and Lockbird could be in his deck. Who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't have enough cards aside for Alter guys. It could be a weird scenario like that. But you know, if I call a monster and then he only has a spell in hand, like let's just say like a blank, like or like a floodgate, like a trap.
Which I definitely think him having a blank was real. I'm pretty sure his draw return was Eater of Millions. I'm pretty sure he had been holding mind control for a few turns, but you obviously never had any monsters, so it was dead. Because he would have summoned Eater of Millions the turn he drew it every single turn. So I think he drew mind control for turn, already had Eater of Millions, and then his hand was already Veiler, Ochre. And there was like nothing like. The cards you drew lined up very poorly against all those cards.
Oh yeah, well that's weird, right? Because like he literally could have just drawn any Trickstar card or any,
and then Heavy Storm Duster's live and you kill him. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I mean. Like even the lights, like Light Stage just interacts with both of my set cards. So I even like had this this weird thought where there was a turn where I wanted to Mind Crush blind, just like any random card that I knew would be in his list that might be like potentially threatening. So like maybe turn before, like when I had 2 or 3 cards in hand, I was like, maybe I can just like low value Mind Crush and then take the gamble on if it takes the Faker out of my hand. You know what I mean? Like that was definitely like in my line of play. Like I had considerations for that. I also just didn't have any indication that Mind Control would be in his deck. That's something that wasn't brought up to me. We weren't like entirely certain on his deck list. It was very out there. However, you know, we had some, like insight from other people that played against him. We even looked at his deck list that he qualified with. I think the one thing I regret is not watching his feature match against the pure Sky Striker player. Maybe I could have had a bit more insight, because obviously I had 8 hours downtime. I probably just should have watched that. That probably would have been correct. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! On hard mode, I guess. But yeah.
Why didn't you watch it?
I'm not mind crushing Mind Control.
Why didn't you watch it?
Yeah, I don't.
I just neglected it. I should have. I didn't think about it. I definitely should have.
Hard mode enabled. All right, moving on.
Well, to be fair, like with everything that we had, but Mind Control, right? I knew everything in his deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
So moving on from the finals itself, like the actual setup of Worlds itself, and something I kind of wanted to bring up, like at least from like I'm sure it applies to you as well, but as a spectator, I just found Worlds to be incredibly frustrating to watch because of the the obsessive shuffling. I thought it was extremely just it was just really frustrating from a viewer perspective, and I can imagine it's worse as a player. and yet you're still getting
Yeah.
you're still only getting the regular time that you would get playing in, the TCG.
Yeah.
And all,
Yeah.
this, you
Reading-
brought up the language barrier, and then you have to check, like, on the iPad if you want to look up some PSET and stuff. I mean, like, is there any sort of conceivable thing that they like? Why do they do that? Do they explain to you guys, like, why they have to be so anal about every single search and stuff?
No.
So from what, so like they didn't, like, we were never told explicitly, but like from what I can gather by reading the policy documents and like stuff like that, or rather like the schedule. I think the schedule was just posted, right? Like on Saturday, I really don't know what to say. Like, we only played 5 rounds, right? And like
Well,
we definitely
6 if
there
you
was
think
there was
about it.
some. Oh yeah, top cut. Yeah, sure. So there were 6 rounds, right, on Saturday. We started super early. Like, we started about the same time as you start any other tournament, but usually they fit 8 rounds into, a YCS, sometimes even 10 at a regional, right? And like, yeah, I'm sure they didn't want it to go until midnight, but sometimes whatever. Like, there were so few rounds. I feel like there could have been more time. Like, obviously, I don't know what goes on to like planning these events. I don't really know exactly what the time constraints were, but I felt like on Saturday, especially, there were so few rounds. There could have been more time. For the finals, like, okay, for top 4, there was just 8 hours of downtime. I don't have an excuse for them as to why top 4 was so like 40 minutes only. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. There was literally like so much, like, top 4 happened in the morning. Finals happened at, the finals for Dragon Duel started, 5 hours later. Like, there's really no reason that I could see why top 4 needed to have such a rigorous like time limit. For the finals, I think the reason was they had a very specific amount of time for the stage, for the stream, that had been posted well in advance. Dragon Duel was at 2 p.m. or something. Duel Links was at 4 p.m. Finals were at 6 p.m. It had to be done by 7:30 or, whatever time it had to be done by, right? Like the actual finals, there was a much more rigid schedule, and they really had to fit into it for the Dragon Duel and Duel Links especially, because they needed the other rounds to start on time. Like, Duel Links had to start at 4. They could not have Dragon Duel go 2 hours. Not that it would have gone 2 hours, but like, the finals had to start at 6. They could not have Duel Links go until, go 2 hours. Again, not that Duel Links is going to go 2 hours, but like, and then I guess just for the sake of consistency, the finals had to be shorter. I don't agree with it, but that is the reasoning, I suppose. I think with so many judges on stage for the finals, they definitely could have maybe had like interpreters or something, so there would be less iPad, fidgeting and more like actual time saving. But I also think it's the aesthetic, is they don't want interpreters just sitting on the stage, like on stream, right? They don't really want that, which is like unfortunate that like the players have to suffer because of the appearances, but that's just how it is, I think. I don't know if Bohdan, anything that you think I missed that you want to touch on?
Yeah, anything about like the structure of the whole event and stuff that wasn't
I
particularly
think
great?
the Swiss was fine, but I think once you get to top cut, it's kind of like Swiss. If you want to complain about Swiss, I think there has to be a whole workaround of the tournament structure of the tournament, where like instead of 5 rounds, where it's like, oh, here's my 28-person event, 5 rounds of Swiss, then why not just have it like UDS sort of deal where you're playing more rounds? It's like a bit more driven, you know what I mean? Because at the UDS they have like 13 rounds for 200 people or something, like something dumb like that. I think something like that would be more appropriate for the World Championship, because
get rid of kind of the variants and stuff.
I sort of. I feel like it would maybe just make the whole concept of deck building for a tournament like Worlds a bit more crucial, where instead you don't have to play a deck that can go 3-2. Like, you have to play a deck that's like consistent enough. Like, you have to like run well enough, I suppose. But like just playing more games. I see no reason why we shouldn't play more games. I've come to learn as well, like from playing like poker, that they're like tournament organizers for poker, they're hosting a lot of the games like for the players. So they'll dictate like big tournaments. So like the high stakes sort of like cash tournaments and stuff. A lot of the rules are just made like in favor of like player perception, like player ideals and stuff like that. So like you'll have certain things based on those players, because like without those players, there's no tournament, right? So like without us, there's no world championship. So I feel like not really factoring that in and just making it more, okay, well, we have to be on time for this. We have to be on time for this. Well, did they ever think that the people who are playing in the actual tournament would maybe like to play under a not relaxed rule set, but maybe just like a rule set where it's like, oh, here's 40 minutes and here's your extensive pile shuffling. Like maybe there's a point where, pile shuffling is redundant because it's not an efficient randomization method. Like even paired with a riffle shuffle, I don't think it's appropriate. And I think there's like math behind it as well. Like they could just say you have to do this, and this, like, but you also have to like count your deck in between or something and make sure the cards are the right way up. But you don't have to pile shuffle in fours. Like that's just some arbitrary number. I don't think there's anything behind it. Like you can pile fours through to 8 and then just hand it to your opponent. What are they going to do? They're going to give it like a quick shuffle and then pile shuffle again. Like what's the judge doing there? The judge is randomizing. It just makes it redundant, right? There's no
what's
point.
The alternative though?
Well, I just think you just need to. Well, like, are you just assuming that like this isn't like like if this isn't the shuffling method for like a physical tournament, like the tournament leading up to the World Championship, like the World Championship is so condensed and you have so many judges that I feel like any instance of like cheating or stacking the deck, especially in Top Cut. You do not need to concern yourself with multiple shuffling methods, especially in Top Cut where the judge is physically
literally right there.
Yeah, like literally right there and literally like shuffling your deck. I think that they need to like rework the entire like shuffling system because every year it's been the same thing. It's just here's my pile shuffle. Like the deck is sufficiently randomized. It isn't because no one knows how to sufficiently randomize a deck. I literally said to them like, oh, hey, what about my shuffling method? Which is just like, I literally like waterfall the cards. Like it's literally just like a riffle shuffle. Keeping in mind, in the documents, it said a riffle shuffle plus a pile shuffle. And they have no understanding the correct terms for like either shuffling technique. What they wanted was like it was like an overhand, like you know what I mean, like the waterfall sort of deal minus the whole waterfall.
The documents literally say like the appropriate pile, the shuffling is like a pile shuffle and then a riffle shuffle, and then like we were shown ways we can't shuffle, and a way they showed was just a riffle shuffle, and we're like, yeah, okay.
so you can't.
The thing is like. That's like my concern though. Like why can I use that shuffling method in the finals of a YCS and no one says anything?
Yeah.
However, I'm at this grand stage where it's everyone's eyes on you. You cannot breathe without someone being there. That is high up in Konami. Like why take the risk there when everyone's watching you? But like for some reason you're playing in the finals of a YCS, you just can't shuffle in a way that's ridiculously effective. Like I can just riffle shuffle without damaging anyone. So like the argument was just like you'll do it, and then some guy from Japan will just be like, "What are you doing?" But it's like, what if someone from Japan does their shuffling method? Watch the YouTube videos. I watch like nice Tomohiro Saito, the Magic professional Japanese Magic player. He does like some absurd shuffle. You know what I mean? It just it makes no sense that they're just like you have to do this, but this is taking 2 minutes, and this is deemed random in hours. Because it isn't. I don't think it's sufficiently randomized. A lot of people get very complacent as well. There's a feature match from 2016 where someone was just like, there was like they pile shuffled, they like passed it to the opponent pile shuffled, and then the deck was literally just in the same order. You know what I mean? Like I was crazy. I was like, this is retarded. Like why is this a thing? But for some reason, it's just like. I think it might be Konami Japan. They just think, okay, like this is a very formal, like prestigious tournament. And don't get me wrong, it is, but they just make it look like a joke when half of the games are just shuffling. And that's not me being salty either. Like I could have lost in the finals by like reasonable means, and I would have said the same thing. I saw my opponents like every time we would pile shuffle. Like you can watch my feature against Gally. Like he's already lost the game, and the judge is like, well, you have to pile shuffle. Which is understandable when it's already set in stone, but like, I think they need to look at it from a player perspective. It's kind of demeaning when like one, you can't concede, and two, you have to pile shuffle like while your opponent's just sitting there styling on you. Like I don't see why it's
that
it's a thing.
I think not being able to concede is absolutely absurd.
Oh,
I just I can't wrap my head around
I have a thing about that. I have a thing about that. So the problem is like, and this I don't know how to like, you know, I'm not trying to make this just like a bash Konami, you know, stupid Konami, right? Like I think like, you know, there are decisions they have to make, right? And like I understand they're difficult, and I think they have done their best to like every year, I think the procedures for Worlds have improved slightly. Last year, you were not allowed to concede in Swiss, as far as I know. This year, you had to call over the judge and tell them why you were conceding, and they had to approve it. But to the best of my knowledge, every single time somebody asked, they were allowed to. Like, as far as I know, nobody was ever told, no, you can still play out of it.
What is this permission thing for? I'd like to scoop. Okay, what is your reason for scooping?
Because I suck. I'll explain in a moment. It was actually like by like the sixth time it happened. Again, I did very badly, so I had to call over a judge and ask to concede very often. by the sixth time it happened, I just kind of like it was like you know, round one.
Oh, it's you again, Ryan. Hello.
Basically, I call over the judge, and then I'm like, I'd like to concede. The judge's like, okay, I'll go get the head judge. Head judge comes over and goes, why would you like to concede? And it was the first round, so I was like, I explained in a lot of detail. I was like, well, he has these cards. I can't beat them. He still has 4 cards in his hand. I think it'll just waste time. They're like, okay, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then, like, from there, and then, like, I just progressively started giving less and less detail every round to the point that, like, round 3, I think my opponent has, like, I get, like, evenly twinned, and I have no cards. And my opponent has Suprex Twist Cobra. I just call over a judge, and I'm like, I'd like to concede. And he goes, why would you like to concede? And I just, like, point at Suprex and just, like, shake my head. And he's like, okay.
I have 0 cards.
Like, he literally goes, evenly, Asher spoofing twin. And I just have no cards. And he's like, summon Suprex. I'm like, judge.
Now, on the opposite end, my Japanese opponent, round 4, I did a bunch of stuff, and he called a judge, and I was like, did I do something wrong? And he, like, talks to the translator, says something, and then they just go, like, after, like, 3 minutes where I'm sitting there like, oh, God, I'm going to get, like, a game loss. I must have fucked up somewhere here. He didn't stop me. What have I done? And then he's just like, he would like to concede. And I'm just like, oh, that took 3 minutes too long, and I thought that I was going to get banned. That was just
yeah. I actually had a really funny one where I mind crushed, and then like I don't know a lot of Japanese, but I know like enough, and I actually do know like some Yu-Gi-Oh keywords in Japanese, and I mind crushed, and then
I'm sure you know how to say scoop now.
Ooh. I don't actually, but I probably should.
Okay, you tell your story. I'm just gonna run to talk really quick. Okay, bear back.
Yeah. So then, like, the Japanese judge comes over, starts talking to the Japanese player, and the player wanted to know if he had to show me his hand, like after discarding, or if just like the judge could just like verify it. And there was this back and forth that went maybe like 2 minutes, and then one of the Konami reps, like sitting next to us watching, asks me, do you need an interpreter? And I said, no, I know what they're saying. And he's like, do you speak Japanese? I'm like, no, I just know what they're saying. And he got really tilted. It's like, I do not understand Japanese, but I understand every word the judge and player are saying. He wants to know if he has to show me his hand off Mind Crush. Which everybody was just confused. Like, it's just very like, I don't know. I told him yes, and he's like, okay. Then they did it.
Those are the best ones.
Which is like the language barrier just doesn't matter. Some things
really
I've had a player call a judge after I activate Mind Crush to see if he has to reveal his hand so many times that I just expect it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I'm back. So the final question is so how many people from TCG topped 2 this year?
More than 2.
It was like 5, right? It was 5?
It was me, Galileo, Jesse, Francesca, and maybe one
And I
more.
want to say one more. Yeah, it was at least 4, but I believe it was 5.
That's
But
cool.
it might have only been 4.
All right. So in general, over the years, it seems like OCG just seem to just perform better than TCG every single year, and America particularly has never had a world champion. So
yes,
why do you think that is? Because we come together every year, and it's sort of like the battle of the continents, and see who's like the better team and whatever and such.
Because it's a single tournament under a ban list that hasn't been solved, and it's probably just in its infancy. But at the same time,
there's been like 15 championships, right? So.
Yeah, but like
I mean,
you need to understand that
probability works. Like each one is it's weird to like each tournament like if we're saying every continent has an equal chance to win every year, and like America hasn't won yet this year, they're going to that's what's that, the gambler's fallacy. It's like like if tail shows up 3 times, it doesn't mean
it has to be
heads is going to show up.
It isn't.
Like. It's the same. It's like the same chance every year,
but it's not an equal chance for each continent to win, right? Because
I mean, maybe it's not, right? I mean, like, maybe it's not, but that's to say, like just because it hasn't happened, like doesn't mean it won't, or doesn't mean it like should. Maybe there was a year when like an American had a really insane deck and like got unlucky and lost. No, but it's just. I don't know. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of variance. Not to say like it's also possible we just suck. I don't know. That's the other possibility. Seems that one seems more and more likely every year. Yeah,
because like some of the deck lists and some of the theory that I see coming out of OCG like throughout like the season, and then like we see some of their deck lists and things that win their tournaments, and like I personally, I mean, I'm just some random guy. I'm pretty bad at this game, but I look at some of their deck lists. I'm just like, what is this? Like, how are these people?
No, I think. Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, I do that when I look at TCG deck lists too. Like sometimes
like when you look at like
some
tournament winning
some event, I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, and I'm just like, how is what I mean? Like that actually happens more often than I'd like to the point that like sometimes I think like, am I the one who's wrong? Like I look at all of these decks and I'm like, what is that? Like how does this like what does this deck even do? I think it's more so in Japan now because their card pool and their combos are so extra deck dependent on cards we don't have that a random mishmash pile can just like be an FTK.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because I look at some OCG lists and it's just ridiculous. A pile of like 1s and 2-ofs and just like random engines, and I just don't get like what's going on, like and I look at some TCG deck lists and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is great. Like this is streamlined well. This is I can identify the win condition. But for OCG, I just feel like it's just very bizarre. Like I see my theory is that they are just absolutely insane technical players. They're just really good players or something.
I think it's more so the fact that like you're only seeing them in like a vacuum. Right? Because they don't have the same level of coverage. They don't have the same tournament series that we have. Like a lot of their tournaments are just like 3v3s and other zany ideas, right? Like they'll have like a CS tournament. Like I've had this all explained to me where it's just like there's no definitive like best OCG player, and then like their nationals are usually like there's some outliers. Like I think there was one dude from Japan who's been 3 years. He went 2015, 17, and 18, and he top 8'd this year as well as top 8'ing 2015. But for the most part, I think a lot of their players just like exist, and like the gap isn't like as big as you would see in like maybe TCG or something, where like it's more evident because there's a lot more exposure on certain players. Like a lot of these people play under nicknames and stuff like that, so like you don't really see like how good someone is outside of this like single tournament. You know what I mean? Like what the world championships are like maybe the Japanese nationals, and then like a lot of them just like drop off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I don't know how to like.
There's gonna be a YCS in Japan.
Yeah, true, but it's best of one. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's ridiculous. That's also maybe talk about that after this, but just continue.
Single elimination.
But that's not.
Yeah, I just also. I don't think like I don't think the Japanese like. I like okay, so like OCG just doesn't have it figured out like TCG does in terms of just like longevity, like consistency sort of deal. You know what I mean?
No, not exactly.
Well, like an OCG player is very like, just not go to Worlds again or not do well again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have like exceptions to the rule. Like there's some OCG players who have done it multiple times. However, like you'll see a new person go to Worlds like almost every year, or like a relatively like unknown person in like their circles at least. No one ever says like this guy's doing so well, you know, he's gonna go to Worlds this year, because a lot of the coverage is just like very small scale. And then like if he does well in a tournament, it might only be like a 3v3 tournament or something. Like a lot of the coverage is like just not as just like focused on like the player. It's more focused on like the deck sort of thing.
Yeah, that is true as well.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. We've been talking for a while now, so I mean, I'm just gonna throw this out to the chat here. If you guys have any questions related to Worlds, of course, then feel free to throw them out here. I will start taking questions. Go ahead. Go now. So just one final point as well. The Worlds race, of course, is going to be starting up again. I suppose Ryan kind of answered this. Bohdan, will you be attempting to return?
If there's a Worlds race, sure.
Oh yeah.
If there isn't a Worlds race,
I think
I don't care.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, Bohdan, you need to get your burger. That I still need to get your PayPal.
Burger. Okay. You know, like 10% of it just disappears from fees, right?
No, what, PayPal, sending his friends and family?
Yeah, international. It doesn't matter how you send it. So.
Well, I'll get you a burger and a half then.
Burger. All right.
What was the card Bohdan top decked and said at the end of Game 3?
Oh, it was protocol. But, like, again, there's just 50 other variables. It wasn't manifestation. It was protocol. It just didn't matter at that point.
Okay.
I was just dead to rights. Everything would have played differently if that clock didn't exist or that clock had another 10 minutes on it. But, yeah, it was protocol. However, if someone says he was so far behind in advantage, there was no way he was winning. What is my opponent going to do? I'm going to draw protocol. I'm going to set it. He's going to attack with Eater of Millions. I can draw Marionetta. He can't veil at my Marionetta because I have protocol. I get to turn my multi-figure into, I get to turn it to Malusi. I get to do like 50 different fucking things. Like, I don't get how anyone could definitively say I had lost that game. He had an effect dealer in his hand and an Eater of Millions on the field. So, again, backseat dueling, 10 out of 10. I don't think anyone understands how to play but me, you know?
All right, I don't want to spend too long on each question because there is like 275 people watching. So let's try to get through as many as possible.
Go for it.
Do you think Altergeist will get hit after Worlds? Ryan, you actually mentioned in the video that you thought the deck was like very under sort of tested and stuff in the TCG region.
So
do you think it will be hit?
I think a lot of decks historically in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are very underdeveloped. And then some get developed very quickly. Like, I think Goki, me having never attempted to like optimize Goki at all, like that was a deck that I just never touched. I think the community really came together and just optimized the hell out of that deck for no good, like for for no reason, like for whatever, or not for no reason, but just like for whatever reason. At the end of the format for Euros and the North American WCQ, every single good player somehow just all came together on their own, like not even talking to each other, just everyone brought something new to the table, and then it just all kind of is as optimal as it's going to be, right? Altergeist,
I think Altergeist is very like Altergeist would have been very like not cyclical, but like dependent on the whole like metagame shifting to Goki though. So I definitely think there would have been a point if Goki was like found earlier. So like again, this would have been actually just dictated by product release, because I don't think Goki would have come to the forefront if Sky Striker didn't like force itself into the thing and then like here's Goki. I think if the WCQ was like later, like possibly now, you probably would have seen like Altergeist be like relevant, just because it does have a good Goki matchup. The thing is, it has a worse Trickstar matchup,
and it has an abysmal Trickstar Striker matchup.
and it has a very average pure striker matchup because they just have
Yeah.
50,000 widow anchors, afterburners, and jamming waves. But yeah,
So do you think it'll be hit?
probably.
I
Really?
don't know. Like I feel like I mean I don't think it's like it's not anywhere close on the top of my list of cards that I think need to be hit for, like the health of the game. But like
I think
They
I
just
think
might.
you could see cards like rivalry hit maybe.
Yeah.
Like I think
Oh, no, no.
floodgates
I
actually
think-
just
I
need to be
think-
touched on.
I think anti-spell should be hit, and I think rivalry and goes in for unrelated reasons. But yeah, I do think that
Yeah.
like some floodgates probably are not okay, and especially when we have a deck that capitalizes on them so well. Like anti-spell is obviously not very good against Goki, so we didn't play it because whatever, and not very good against the mirror. But like if the meta game devolves again back to like pure striker or Trickstar striker, and then somehow we decide that Altergeist is so good against those, like anti-spell is ridiculous. Like anti-spell Sequoitus is just like unacceptable. Like you anti-spell them, they set their spells, you bounce all their spells back to their hand, they just can never activate spells.
Summon Malusic, attack, kill one, repeat process.
You bounce two of their spells and you kill one of their spells, and it's just not okay.
And then perhaps you make a Hexia. Weird.
Do you
Anyway,
do you
next
feel
question.
do you feel like Konami treated the players well outside of the tourney? Were you well supported?
Yes.
etc.?
For the most part, but there was a lot of miscommunication between the three branches, and we don't wish to elaborate further at risk of being banned. Next question.
Yeah, but I think it was pretty okay.
Would you prefer to use the OCG ban list instead of mixed for Worlds?
No,
would-
absolutely not.
I just realized
I
how
would
stupid that
prefer that we played 3 rounds of LOB draft, and then the next 3 would be Battle Pack round 2 draft, potentially with all types being the same rules, and then another 3 rounds dictated by dice, where we would each pick a structure deck out of the bag and play it. Next question.
Let's see. What is Worlds? The World Championship of Yu-Gi-Oh! 2018. For a starting player, what's the best way to join in the Worlds race? A starting player? I think you should not consider
don't
Worlds
do
just
it.
yet.
Just don't do it.
If Cherubini was legal for Worlds, what possible implications could have been derived from being?
I'm not gonna answer that question.
I don't know what that card does.
I really want
I don't know, like what, like I don't like. It would have been a deck. I don't know.
Next one.
That's like.
Let's see. So we kind of talked about the changes there. Scrolling through. So we already talked about the ban list one. What does the some of the questions you guys asked are so shit. I'm just gonna should we use the OCG ban? No.
No.
What does what? You know what? Let's just move on. Okay, you guys, your questions suck. All right. Let's round it off with the next season and the next format and stuff. Are you guys excited to play on and continue with the coming season or the coming cards
I'm gonna
and
go
stuff
to
that
the
we're getting?
200th YCS in Europe, and I'm probably gonna hate myself because it's a 30-hour flight.
Jesus
but I get
Christ.
to hang out in Amsterdam, so I probably I don't know. That'd be kind of cool.
That's good. Right.
Yeah. So I'm for sure. There's the ARG Invitational tomorrow that I'm going to. I
Yay.
guess.
Is it being streamed?
I don't know.
Oh.
So I really wish I could give you an answer, but I actually don't know. And then I'm going to the 200th YCS. That much is, it's a big milestone one. Like I feel like that's probably going to be fun. But like, I think I touched upon earlier about the whole like cyclical, like I want to stop playing for a while.
Mhm.
I think I need some time to not play Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I just like focus on other things. But
like your world journey is just crazy.
yeah, that was really sick. Not like being like traveling to a different city for like 15 weeks straight was kind of sick. So I think I just need a couple of months of not traveling.
Yeah.
And, like
I'm the same, except like I have a flight that I have to utilize that Konami is paying for, and I just want to get that out of the way, and then I get to go home, do nothing for 3 months again, maybe make some money selling cryptocurrency, perhaps selling Yu-Gi-Oh trading card sleeves, and then go from there.
If the stars align, I will be making my return at the Australian YCS.
Hey.
Let's hope.
after the 200th. I'm gonna stop playing until January, and then maybe go back to Australia. But maybe that's not what'll happen.
Right,
That's my plan right now.
Jaden, Yuki, Jesse Anderson won.
Are you okay, Bohdan?
What?
Yeah. Bohdan's trying to like plug his cryptocurrency dealer or some shit right now. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'm running through the Tumblr.
I think that's gonna do it for today. So yeah, thanks to Ryan and Bohdan for joining me. This has been the world's whatchamacallit round off, and until next time, follow Bohdan official _ on Instagram, and we will see you in the future.
Yeah, I don't have an Instagram. I don't.